Welcome back to Speak Your Truth, a poetry podcast. Once again, I'm truly glad you decided to join me today and be with me in this moment. In our last couple episodes, we sat with the weight of depression and anxiety. We named the storms that live inside the mind and body. We acknowledged how heavy it can be just to exist some days. That work mattered. Naming pain is an act of courage. Today, we shift our gaze slightly, not away from struggle, but through it. Today we talk about resilience, not the cinematic kind, not the version that gets applause or headlines, not the stories where everything breaks and is magically rebuilt in one brave moment. This is about everyday resilience. The kind that doesn't announce itself. The kind that looks like getting out of bed when your body asks you not to. Like showing up to work exhausted, heart bruised, mind racing, and still doing what needs to be done. Like holding your tongue when anger would be easier. Like choosing patience when no one would blame you for snapping. This is the resilience of ordinary people living ordinary lives under extraordinary pressure. It's the quiet strength that keeps the wheels turning when motivation is gone. The strength that doesn't feel strong at all while you're inside it. The strength that whispers, just keep going, even when no one is watching. Most of us don't feel resilient while we're being resilient. We just feel tired. We feel stretched thin. We feel like we barely holding it together. But resilience isn't about feeling powerful. It's about continuing anyway. Today's episode is an invitation to notice that strength in yourself, to honor the ways you survived, days that didn't deserve you, to recognize that endurance, even when messy, even when imperfect, is still endurance. Through poetry, we'll explore the small moments that shape quiet courage, the unnoticed victories, the breath you took when quitting felt closer than hope. So settle in, take a breath. You don't have to be strong here. You just have to be present. Let's speak the truth about what it really means to keep going. When we hear the word resilience, we're often taught to picture dramatic moments. Rock bottom followed by a comeback. Failure flipped into a triumph. A before and after story that fits neatly into a headline. But we all know most resilience doesn't look like that. Most resilience never announces itself. It doesn't arrive with applause. It doesn't come wrapped in motivation or certainty. Everyday resilience is quieter, smaller. And because of that, it's easier to overlook, even in ourselves. It's the decision to get out of bed when the weight of the day is already pressing on your chest. It's standing in the kitchen, half awake, making tea or coffee, not because you're hopeful, but because it's one small thing you can still do. It's sending a message that simply says, I'm thinking of you, when you don't have the energy for a conversation. It's taking one slow breath before reacting, one pause before giving up, one moment of patience when frustration is just too loud. These acts don't look heroic. They don't feel powerful while you're doing them. Often they feel insignificant, but they're not. They're evidence. Evidence that something in you is still choosing to engage with the world, still choosing movement over collapse, still choosing presence over disappearance. That choice matters. Poetry helps us see these moments more clearly. It slows time down. It pulls our attention toward what we usually rush past. A poem can turn making tea into a ritual, a single breath into a turning point, a quiet morning into proof that you survived another night. Poetry gives language to what endurance actually looks like. Not perfection, not constant strength, but persistence. It honors the ordinary courage of continuing, the kind of courage that doesn't feel brave while you're living it, but becomes undeniable when you look back. This segment is an invitation to rethink what counts as strength, to stop dismissing the small ways you show up, to recognize that resilience doesn't have to be loud to be real. Sometimes resilience is simply this: you are still here, and today that is enough. A poem thrives in detail. It doesn't rush to conclusion. It doesn't skip ahead to the moral of the story. It lingers. It stays with a single leaf caught in wind, the sound of a kettle coming to a boil, the quiet step of someone moving forward without being noticed. Poetry understands that life is mostly made of these moments, small, ordinary, easily dismissed. And yet inside them, something important is happening. In these observations, we find a mirror of our own quiet persistence. Because resilience rarely announces itself in grand gestures. It shows up in repetition, in consistency, in the decision to keep doing the small things that hold a life together. Poetry names what is often overlooked. It slows our attention just enough to say, this mattered. This moment counted. You counted. A poem doesn't need the whole story to honor courage. Sometimes it only needs a fragment, a single image, just a few honest lines. Think about the victories you rarely celebrate. Getting through a difficult conversation without losing yourself. Choosing rest instead of self-judgment. laughing, even briefly, in the middle of a hard week, returning to yourself after almost giving up. These are not loud wins. They don't feel cinematic. They don't come with certainty or closure. But poetry recognizes them anyway. Think of resilience not as a dramatic roar, but as a soft and steady heartbeat. It's where, when everything else feels uncertain, it keeps time when the world feels out of rhythm. It doesn't rush, it doesn't quit. Poetry hears that heartbeat. It listens for what survives quietly, what endures without spectacle, what keeps going even when no one is paying attention. And when poetry gives voice to those moments, it reminds us of something essential. You don't need a breakthrough to be brave. You don't need a victory speech to be strong. Sometimes continuing is the victory. That is what poetry captures. Not the noise of resilience, but the pulse. Here's a poem for the small victories that make up a life, for the progress that no one claps for, for the days that move forward quietly without any proof. It's called One Leaf at a Time. The tree doesn't rush the turning of its leaves. It doesn't argue with the season or demand proof that change is worth it. One at a time, green looses its hold. Amber quietly begins. There's no signal, no announcement, no warning shot in the sky. The tree doesn't mourn what it releases. It trusts what comes next. Even when the branches feel lighter, even when the air grows cold. No trumpet sounds, no banner waves, only the patient work of change, happening without witnesses. Today, I rise the same way. Not in triumph, not in victory, but in quiet agreement with the morning. I put my feet on the floor. I breathe. I stay. I don't demand clarity. I don't chase meaning. I allow the day to meet me where I am. Some days I am still green, holding on, unsure. Other days something loosens, just enough to let the light through. I'm not becoming all at once. I'm not healed in a single moment. I am changing, one leaf at a time. And today, that is enough. Now I want you to turn your attention inward, not to judge, not to measure, just to notice. Think of the small acts of resilience in your own life today, not the moments that impressed anyone else, the moments that simply ask you to show up. Sending that email you've been avoiding, taking the dog outside even when the weight of the world sat heavy on your chest, choosing kindness when frustration would have been easier, choosing silence instead of self-criticism, choosing rest instead of punishment. These moments may feel ordinary. They may feel forgettable, but they're not nothing. They are poems in motion, written not with ink, but with choice, line by line, step by step. Every time you choose to continue, you add another stanza to your life. Not polished, not perfect, but honest. And honesty is where strength lives. I want you to do something for me. It's simple. If you can, take a moment to write down 3 small victories from today. They don't need to be impressive. They don't need to make sense to anyone else. Maybe it was getting out of bed. Maybe it was asking for help. Maybe it was setting a boundary. Maybe it was even forgiving yourself for not doing more. Whatever they are, let them be enough. These small victories aren't placeholders for something bigger. They are the work. They are the proof that you are still moving, still choosing, still becoming. Strength doesn't always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like effort. Sometimes it feels like quiet endurance. Sometimes it feels like staying when leaving would be easier. And if that's what today looked like for you, that counts. You don't need to rush your growth. You don't need to turn your life into a highlight reel. You only need to keep noticing the ways you show up. Because every small act of resilience is a line in a poem only you can write. And today, you wrote another verse. There's something that happens when we choose to share our small victories. Not the polished version, not the highlight reel, just the honest truth of what it took to get through the day. When we share these moments, we remind others of their own. We give permission without having to say the words. Permission to be human, permission to be unfinished, permission to keep going without pretending it's easy. A few lines about making coffee in the quiet kitchen, a simple haiku about taking a walk around the block, a sentence about choosing to rest instead of pushing. These small offerings travel farther than we expect. Someone hears your words and thinks, maybe I'm not the only one moving slowly today. Maybe my small efforts count too. Boom, just like that. something loosens. Poetry doesn't fix anyone. That's not its job. What it does, it sits beside us. It says, I see you. I'm here too. When we share poetry rooted in everyday resilience, we build something quiet but powerful. A network of courage, one voice at a time, one breath at a time. No stage required, no performance necessary, just honesty moving from one person to another. You don't have to write something profound. You don't have to find the perfect words. You only have to tell the truth of where you are. That truth might look like, today was heavy, but I made it through. Or I walked even though I didn't want to. Or even simpler, I stayed. Those words do matter. Poetry builds bridges where explanations fall short. It carries resilience quietly, like leaves turning, like heartbeats continuing. And when you share your words, even softly, even imperfectly, you become part of that quiet network of courage. One voice at a time, one leaf at a time. Thank you all again for spending these moments with me on Speak Your Truth, a poetry podcast. Thank you for listening slowly, for staying present, for allowing yourself to feel whatever came up along the way. As you step back into the rest of your day, I hope you carry one simple truth with you. Your strength doesn't have to be loud to be real. It doesn't have to be perfect to matter. And it doesn't have to be seen to count. Honor the quiet strength within yourself. The everyday resilience that keeps you moving forward. The choices you make when no one is watching. The effort it takes to stay, to try, to continue. Those moments are not small. They are the foundation. If today felt heavy, let yourself move gently. If today felt steady, let yourself appreciate that too. Wherever you are, trust that becoming does not happen all at once. It happens one breath at a time, one choice at a time, one leaf at a time. You don't need to rush your healing. You don't need to compare your path to anyone else's. You are allowed to move at the pace your life requires. Until next time, stay grounded, stay grateful, and always, always speak your truth. Peace out. From the Outside, a spoken word poem on resilience. I watch you move through ordinary days, not hunting applause, not begging for praise. You carry your weight like it's welded in place. Walk straight through pressure, never naming it pain. You wake when it's heavy, when strength hasn't called. Still lace up the hours, still answer the wall. No speeches, no spotlight, no hands in the air, just quiet resolve, just showing up there. I see you respond when silence feels safer. Send the hard message, and walk back in later. You don't make noise when you choose to stay. You make progress the smallest way. You bend, but you don't disappear. You slow, but you still draw near. With quitting, hums low, like a song you know well. You answer with later, not never, not hell. From the outside, it's clear what you do. You turn surviving into something true. Not heroic, not loud, not carved into stone, but steady as breath, consistent as bone. You don't call it strength, you don't tally the cost, you don't count the times you almost got lost. Yet every step says what words never will. You are here by choice, by patience, by will. I've seen resilience wear quieter skin, no victory pose, no polished grin. It looks like you, still showing up, still filling the cracks with whatever's left in the cup. If strength had a rhythm, it'd follow your pace, not rushing the climb, not skipping the grace. From where I stand, the truth stays plain. You don't defeat storms, you walk through the rain. And that's the part most people miss. Resilience isn't force, it's this. The way you remain, the way you continue, the way you become, line by line, true.